Welcome back to Making the Madness on YouTube. We have a big time showdown here tomorrow on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It is Kansas heading on the road to take on Baylor. This will be 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Uh, Made the premier Big 12 matchup of the year. Preseason top two teams in the conference squaring off big Monday. Should be a great game. Sean, are you excited for this one?
Oh, I'm stoked. Nice little big Monday game. We get two of the better teams in the conference, two of the better teams in the country. Baylor, obviously, still undefeated at 12-0. They had Texas Tech played a tough 35 minutes against them. Jared Butler was scoreless up until about 5 minutes left in the game. But at the end of the day, Baylor won out with talent. And it was just Chris Beard game playing well for him. Baylor wasn't hitting their shots, but they ended up winning. Davion Mitchell had a big game. Adam Flagler had a big game. And when your best player is off, like Jared Butler was, but you have a guy like Davion Mitchell that could score you 19 and Adam Flagler 15, that just shows how good this team is.
Yeah, most definitely. Certainly a really good performance for Baylor. Meanwhile, Kansas has had essentially a week off to prepare because they were supposed to take on Iowa State. That game got canceled because Iowa State had COVID issues. But so now Kansas comes on. They lost Oklahoma State. They were dominated for about 30 minutes of that game. Came back and made it a game late, but ultimately Cade Cunningham made the play down the stretch that turned the game in Oklahoma State's favor. But Kansas, they're off to I'd say a slow start. They're 10-3 overall. They already have two losses in Big 12 play, but they have already beaten Texas Tech on the road, West Virginia, Creighton. Those are three really good wins. They won at TCU by 30. They beat Oklahoma. This is a solid basketball team, even despite a couple early losses, most notably the 25-point loss to Texas. But this is a really good team that I think is going to give out a really good fight in this one.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at the games that Kansas lost besides the Gonzaga game, if you look at the two conference games they lost against Texas and Oklahoma State, the Longhorns and Cowboys just dominated them from deep. They hit over 40% of their three-point shots, and that's something Baylor's going to have to do, but they do it at a really good clip. They have six guys. I'm going to round up on Macy O.T. because his dropped, but it's six guys shooting about 40% from deep. You have Maceo Teague, Jared Butler, Adam Flagler, Matthew Meyer. You have LJ Cryer, and then who's the sixth one? Maceo Teague, yeah, he's the other one. So there's six players shooting about 40% from deep on the team. When you have that, along with the number one ranked defense on KenPom after Clemson got dismantled by Virginia yesterday, that makes for such a dangerous team because not only can they beat you on the defensive end with having an elite on-ball defender like Davion Mitchell, having an elite guy that can switch 1 through 5 like Mark Vidal, and then having just good defenders everywhere. That doesn't make it, and you can shoot threes the way they can. That makes it so tough to game plan and to beat a team like Baylor. But Kansas is going to have to rely on David McCormick in this one. He's averaging 20.3 points in the Jayhawks' last three games. He's been really confident and really good lately. And the worst defenders on the floor at all times for Baylor is Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua and Flo Thamba. They're the worst defenders on the team statistically. And David McCormick's going to have to try to get them in foul trouble, try to get them to bite on some fakes and just score on them because you're not going to score on Davion Mitchell. You're not going to score on whoever Mark Vidal's probably guarding. You're going to have to score inside, and hopefully they start doubling, and then you can kick out the shooters.
Yeah, and I could see Baylor actually doing a lot in this game. I could see them because Mark Vidal's built like a NFL linebacker. He's 6'5", like 240, and really big. I could see them. I know they give up a little bit of height going against David McCormick. I would put him at the 5 for long stretches of time because that's kind of a matchup. David McCormick against JTT and Flo Thamba and Matthew Meyer, I think could win those type of matchups that are needed to be won. But I think if you put Mark Vidal, he'll have a height advantage, but Mark Vidal is not going to let them, get inside and get easy baskets. And it might, McCormick, I think, could knock down some jumpers, which he can take that shot and make it, but that's not really an efficient shot as compared to going inside and scoring. And so that I think that would be something I would potentially do if I were Baylor. Defensively, Baylor's obviously going to have a big advantage, but I do think one thing is Davion Mitchell's going to take out whoever he's guarding, whether it's Abaji, whether it's Garrett, whether it's DeJuan Harris, whoever he's guarding isn't really going to be effective as a point guard. But if Kansas can, switch and rotate and have different guys bring the ball up the court, I could see that being a situation where they're able to have success, maybe switching and getting the right matchups offensively.
Yeah, definitely. The biggest thing that Baylor's going to have to do is stop David McCormick, because you look at the Kansas offense as a whole, Marcus Garrett's not much of a threat offensively. He shouldn't really be the main ball handler. We've seen that's been a problem for him. He doesn't have the instincts that a guy would that's played point guard his entire collegiate career. He's been a bench guy early in his career, and then last year obviously played alongside Devon Dotson. But that's going to be a big piece in this game, because Marcus Garrett is going to be forced to make good decisions, and we're not sure he can do that. He's made a lot of interesting decisions, especially driving the ball. He's drove on guys, like 4 guys converging on him, still takes the shot and gets blocked. He's just not the same kind of guy, basketball IQ-wise, that he is on defense. But for Baylor, I mean, you just have to shoot the ball well, and the defense is gonna be there. They just have to shoot the ball well, and they'll be able to win this game.
Yeah. I do think Kansas is going to have a great defensive game plan, because Kansas is a really good defensive team. I think they're kind of rounding into form on that end. And you give Bill Self a week to game plan and scout against Baylor, he no doubt will have a really good defensive game plan. Whether that's enough to win the game, I have my doubts, but I think it's going to be a really tight game, and kind of late down the stretch, I think winning players will make winning plays. I trust Baylor to ultimately get the win, but I'm predicting final score 64-59.
Yeah, I believe I predicted the score for what I wrote on the site. Obviously, check it out, makingthemadness.com. I said 78-64 Baylor. I just don't think Kansas has what it takes to stick in it. We've seen the games that they've lost. They've lost by a fair amount. The spread is 9, it looks like, according to KenPom. I think Baylor will be able to cover that. I just think that overall Baylor's a better team. They have more talent. I think they're better coached. They have a better game plan. I just think overall Baylor's a better team right now.
Yeah, Baylor's, I think, the better team. I do think they'll play later again this season. I do think Kansas picks them off kind of later in the season, but right now I'm sticking with the Bears to ultimately get this victory.
Absolutely.
Well, make sure to subscribe to Making the Madness on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Bracketologist3, at Sean02MTM, and subscribe to Making the Madness on the Apple Podcasts as well. But until then, we'll be back.